Well, a very good morning to everybody here. We're so honored to have the Right Honorable Premier of Sarawak, Yang Amat Berhormat Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Dr. Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari, our Deputy Premier, YB Professor Dato' Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hien, also Minister of Public Health and Local Government, YB Dato' Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi, Minister of Food Industry, Commodity and Regional Development, Dave Neal, and the members of the Board of Asia for Animals Coalition, representatives from the Office of the Sarawak State Secretary, Dato' Hee Chang Kee, and also from the various ministries. We have Natural Resources and Urban Development. We also have Dr. Adrian Susin Ambut, Director of Department of Veterinary Services, Sarawak, who will be having his very own conference at the end of this month, the Rabies in Borneo 2, at which I'll be speaking on collaborations. Also representatives from Ministry of Tourism and Business Events Sarawak. Here this morning we also have Dato' Dr. Seong, who is a retired Director of Vet Department and also our immediate past President for SSPCA. Members of the Animal Village Design Team, who are all working pro bono, AJ Architects, PUBM Quantity Surveyors, Prunding Technical, thank you for your assistance. Friends of the media, these are all our partners, entities that we must engage in to bring about the kind of change we hope to see. The fact that we are all gathered here today is a testament to our collaborative commitment to improving the lives of animals here and around the globe. So much has happened since you were last here for our conference in 2015. In 2016, oops, here we go. Where am I pointing this at? It's not working. Is that you guys? Okay, technology. So much has happened since you all were last here in our conference in 2015. In 2016, as a follow-up to the 2015 AfA conference, SSPCA organized the Animal Population Management Symposium, and we also had a session on rabies preparedness in Sarawak. So this was a session, we had Mission Rabies here, and we couldn't catch a dog, so Praveen Ohal had to be our dog, and so we taught the councils how to use the nets. Can I have one that works, please? Because some of my slides I want to move very fast. And we had, coming to join us that time was Dr. Ganga, who is here again, Kate Polak, who is here with us as well, Harry Ekman, and of course, Praveen from Mission Rabies. 1 year later, in 2017, our predictions came true, and rabies crossed the border from Kalimantan into Sarawak. This marked the beginning of our greatest efforts in collaboration and engagement. It also marked the steepest learning curve I ever had to go through. SSPCA was thrown in the deep end. No animals in Sarawak had protection against this disease. Our first call was to the Minister of Agriculture, Dato' Amar Douglas Uga, to tell him we needed to immediately start mass vaccination programs and that culling would not eradicate the disease. We read up on the canine rabies blueprint, integrated bite case management in Bali, just to name a few. 9 days after the first reported case, we were in a conference call with people like Dr. Katinka from FAO and the FAO Crisis Management Center for Animal Health, WHO and AGAH from Rome, discussing emergency responses and surveillance. We were very fortunate then that Dr. Andrea Britton from Vets Beyond Borders was in the region, and we were able to fly her in from Indonesia. And she stayed with us for 2 weeks, giving valuable advice and directions, not just to SSPCA, but to the vet department as well. Dr. Andrea will be back at the end of this month, as she's the head of the Scientific Committee for the Rabies in Borneo 2023. She's also on this AfA's Scientific Committee, but was not able to make it here in time for this conference. Going down to ground zero in Syrian allowed us to see how this dreadful disease had come across the border from Indonesia and how it affected the families, especially those who had lost their children. The stress that came with trying to strike a realistic balance between controlling the disease and saving the healthy strays that roam freely on our streets, the community dogs that know their neighbors. The long sleepless nights, tears of frustration. Many a time I just wanted to throw in the towel as the tug of war between both sides took its toll on my passion to help. I felt as if a great weight was on my shoulders just to drag everyone through this crisis, to find that balance where we could all work together to reach a compromise that everyone would be satisfied with. The challenge is to keep that balance going for the next few years as we all work together to make Sarawak rabies-free again. I would like to acknowledge the work that the Department of Veterinary Services does, especially those first few weeks of 2017. I don't think Dr. Nick or any of them took a weekend off at that time. They worked tirelessly to vaccinate the animals in the multitude of villages that surround Syrian town. And I don't think the public in Kuching here realized how difficult and how hot and tiring it was in those kampongs, because all was done in the outskirts, some only reachable by rivers and long boat rides. So here we were speaking to the villagers in Syrian, trying to find out where the disease came from, and they told us that a pack of dogs had walked through the border and attacked their animals. We worked together with the Ministry of Public Housing and Local Government, the Health Department and Department of Veterinary Services to do the pilot house-to-house vaccination program in Batukawa. And here we have our Professor Sim sitting on the curb with us as we mark in all our data. It took us 3 months, going out 5 days a week to complete the whole area. And we collected data of how many dogs we saw, how many we managed to vaccinate. DVSS Malaysia sent in their vets from other states to learn and to assist as well. These are the children that are waiting for us to come. At first, when we arrived, we asked them if they had any dogs, and they said, no, we don't have any. Then we said, we're here to give you vaccinations against rabies. No, we don't have any. It's free. Oh, okay. So they started bringing out their dogs. I couldn't get the government maps. So this is them bringing out their dogs. I couldn't get government maps of the area. So every night I had to take snapshots of Google Maps, print, and cut and paste 3 copies each. One for our volunteers, one for DVS records, and one for the health department's records. I remember we met one woman who said only her husband could touch their dog because he was too fierce. But when we saw the dog's behavior, we told her the dog was actually trying to socialize with her, judging from its body language. She mistook its excited barks for aggression, and we showed her how to touch her own dog. And after the dog was vaccinated, she came and gave me a hug because she said she was no longer afraid of her own dog. SSPCA assisted in the first year of mass vaccination programs, and last year in conjunction with DVSS and Sarawak Vet Association. And with the first Rabies in Borneo conference, we did on-site neutering in Syrian, and 6 private vets managed to neuter 54 animals in 1 day. And since 2017, besides preaching about responsible pet ownership, we now include dog bite prevention talks and activities when we visit schools, especially with the younger children. So here you see us in the kindergarten, and as many people have said in the last 3 days, we use soft toys to show the kids. So we tell them how to behave, not to run, not to shout. We teach them to be still, don't move, be quiet. So we take the dogs and we pretend to go around and sniff them, because we tell them if you are still, hopefully the dog will just get bored and walk away from you. We teach them the proper way to approach a dog, to ask the owner first, may I touch your dog? And generally dogs really don't like to be patted on the head. They don't like to be bumped on their head. So generally we tell them, pat them from the shoulder blades, but always ask first. This was in Syrian when we got the vets to come up and do the neutering campaign. It was requested by the people in Syrian because they don't have a vet there. So 6 teams came, and we did this in 1 day with funding also from Dato' Stephen. So we did cats and dogs, male and female. And this is some of the mass vaccination. We helped vet department organize this in the beginning, because at first they were not used to handling cats and dogs. They dealt with livestock, cows and chickens. So most of our volunteers, we would go up almost every day to Syrian and help them in the vaccination programs. This is DVS coming to our shelter, so they come once a year. We're also going to be running, we actually started a program in 2019, but it got stopped, of course, by the pandemic, where the vet department and the local university came, did vaccinations, and they wanted to come back 1 month later after the 28 days to see how many dogs developed antibodies. So this is something that we will have to relook at doing again. Oops. These are scenes that we work with all the time. We experience these all the time. And as people have been talking in the last few days, I believe the councils and the local government now should be talking about doing more robust neutering campaigns. As our colleague from Humane Society International said, you have to neuter at least 50% or more of your population in order to make an impact. And Dr. Chini was just telling me outside that in India, it is now the law where the councils pick up the dogs, then they have to send them for neutering. They are held for a couple of days to make sure that they recover, and then they are returned back. And in Chennai, they have not had a human rabies death since 2017. This is a typical scene. These kittens were lucky because they were dumped with their mother. Most of the time, people will just chuck the kittens or leave them at the gate of our shelter. And this is something that we see almost every day. And this is why we believe we have to up our neutering programs. So we work with the councils, and just next week I'll be going to meetings with MBKS again to discuss our new neutering campaigns. We'll be doing some neutering in Padawan as well under YB Wilfred Yap. So these are our neutering registrations. Conference such as today's Asia for Animals 2023, and this was the first Asia for Animals that we hosted in 2015 in Borneo. It was called Partnerships Breed Success. These are the best ways of educating your local population by bringing the experts here to speak to you in Kuching. So we should take full advantage of these and engage with the delegates and speakers that are here. Other different ways of public engagement is our Wiggle Waggle Walk, which we are having tomorrow morning. It's also a way of educating public to walk their dogs on a leash, to scoop their poop, which is not a common practice here. We also did the WAG Music Festival for a couple of years. And we hope to bring back our Animazing Race, which is a race for humans. So these are all part of our outreach programs, encouraging people to come and participate with us, and also so that they learn about the work that we're doing. Okay. We've come a long way, though we've got very far to go. Fundraising at the shelter is continuous, as we have over 350 animals to feed, with full-time staff, salaries, food, medical bills. It costs us about $30,000 a month to maintain the shelter. Raising public awareness about the work that SSPCA does, however, has also caused the growth in the number of animals being dumped at our gates, as I showed you just now. People sometimes feel that they have the right to dump their animals on us because they tell us, that's your job. But it's not our job. It's your job to be a responsible pet owner. This is the main message we tell children when we give talks at school. Children will listen and go home and tell their parents. Most adults we speak to just don't hear what we're saying. The messages they take home that we all have to be responsible pet owners. Recently, our shelter has been subjected to flooding again. In the last 2 years, we've been hit 3 times. We're now in a valley with all the development coming up around us. When the shelter was first built in the 1990s, there wasn't very much around us. And now it's a bustling commercial center, as I think you can see around the sides, all the shop houses. Datuk Petinggi Abang Joe, who is here with us this morning, gave us the nod when he was Minister of Housing in 2009 to apply for a new piece of land. We requested 3 to 5 acres. 6 years later, in April of 2015, the late Tok Nan approved of 1 acre. We appealed and got 2 acres in September 2015. It took a while to get the land title sorted, and we finally managed to do our groundbreaking in 2019. But before that, I'm sorry, I forgot, I have some photos of the floods to show you. So this was one of the floods that we had. And because we had been getting flooded quite frequently, we actually had everything raised. This is a little puppy that I managed to save. We have since moved all the cats out of the shelter. They've all gone into foster homes. As you can see, we actually raised this fridge on cement blocks, and it was raised about 3.5 feet above the ground. But all it took was 6 inches of water, because the water went up to 4 feet. It took 6 inches of water to move that fridge. So it took a while to get the land title sorted, and we finally managed to do our groundbreaking in 2019. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, and getting planning approval has taken twice as long as it usually does. Sorry, this thing is not very sensitive. Okay. So this is the plan for a new area on 2 acres of land. You can see we have the dog kennels and the cat pen. We have boarding areas. We have a dog park in the middle where people can come and bond with the animals before they take them for adoption. We have a veterinary clinic, a crematorium, an education area with a small cafe, and also a reception area where we'll have a cat aviary, and as well as a dog playpen area. This was our groundbreaking in 29 with Abang Joe. Our building costs, of course, have escalated dramatically. From 2.5 million way back in 2009, 14 years ago, to 4.5 million in 2017 when we readjusted the design to something simpler, to 7 million in 2019 when we went for tender and did the groundbreaking, and now an estimated 9 million with post-COVID inflation. Needless to say, we're looking at ways to reduce the cost, but our infrastructure alone, with the Department of Drainages coming in and telling us we have to dig our drains 1 foot wider, 1 foot deeper, Around a 2-acre plot, that's a lot of additional costs. So now we're going to have to build in small phases and cut our coat according to the cloth. But this is our aim, to change the perception of animals and their welfare in this new animal village, in line with Sarawak's goal of becoming a developed state by 2030. We must elevate our treatment of animals, promoting education in animal welfare, cultivating a culture of compassion, respect, and responsibility towards all living animals. When I did my TEDx talk, Kanyalang, I came up with the acronym of CARE: compassion, awareness, respect, and empathy. This is what we hope our communities will learn when they visit our animal village. Before we play the video, I must thank our AfA Borneo 2023 organizing chairman, Gracie, and the scientific committee for putting together such a great program. I would like to acknowledge the support we received from the government of Sarawak, the Premier's Office for the land for our new animal village, Ministry of Public Housing, Local Government for hosting tonight's conference dinner, Ministry of Tourism and Sarawak Business Events, our sponsors from the Coalition, SEB, Petronas, BCCK, as well as our other supporting event partners. Thank you, of course, to the Asia for Animals Coalition for having the confidence in letting SSPCA host this event for the second time. As we all know, we could not have done any of this without our volunteers. We had excellent guidance from our conference organizers, Place Borneo. We owe a debt of gratitude to our volunteers in the Secretariat, all the back-of-house services, video, photography, entertainment, sound and light, logistics, and all of you that support us, not just during this conference, but at our Christmas bazaars and throughout the years. It's you guys that inspire us to carry on. Once again, a great big thank you to all of you here, the speakers who wanted to share their experience, the delegates who came. We hope when you leave, Sarawak and Borneo will be carved in your hearts together forever. Nancy Burke said, "Some people don't understand why I help animals in need. I don't understand why they wonder." Thank you.